So I've decided to do a short series about the issue of marriage. Marriage is one topic that can never be exhausted. There are always questions, there are always things people want to know, there are always perspectives coming out on it that we need to discuss, and it's an ongoing issue. As some people are getting into it, some people are getting out of it, and nobody goes into marriage with the intention of getting out, but it's happening. So it's one thing that we need to continually learn about. As women, we know that we bear a large responsibility in marriage and that a lot of the outcomes tend to affect us more. Not that men don't have a responsibility or have a large responsibility at that, but the outcomes of a marriage affect us more as women. We are the ones that get pregnant. We are the ones that deal with a lot of child raising and childcare. We deal with a lot of issues that are not as straightforward as they are for the men. And so it's important that as women, we don't play a passive role as we have been wont to do, especially when it comes to the issue of making a choice of who to marry. Too many of us have been passive and tend to be on the receiving end of things. Before we even go into the issue of who to marry and how to make choices and all that, it's important that we have a general overview and understand some principles about marriage. But let me ask you first, have you subscribed to my channel? If you haven't done that, please click the bell button now so that you don't miss any of my videos. So let's get right into the meat of the discussion. First of all, we need to understand that marriage is an art, not a science. A science is specific. Put in 2 measures of this, plus 2 measures of that, and another 2 doses of those, and you get a specific result. For an art, there are guidelines and principles, but the outcome is not guaranteed. The results cannot be exactly the same, even though they may tend towards similar ends. The result of an art is very dependent on the personality of the participants, the expertise, and a lot of other things. And so the result of an art is very dependent on the personality of the participants, their perspective, their experience, and a lot of other things. For example, in cookery, if you give 2 people the exact same ingredients to cook the same meal, you'll find out that you may not get the exact same results. The food may not taste exactly the same, or it may even appear different because it has to do with the perspective and creativity of the person involved. And so marriage is more of an art than a science. There is no fixed way of doing things. There is no exact formula on how marriage works because the 2 individuals in every marriage are different. They come from different backgrounds, they have different values, they have different perspectives in life. And so even if you find 2 siblings coming from the same family, marrying 2 siblings from the exact same family, the outcomes in each marriage will be very different because they are just different people involved. There are steps that we can take to curate some of the results and, say, okay, these are the results I want, how do I choose and all that. But I think I'll talk about those in subsequent videos. Today, I just want to talk about the nature of marriage. What makes marriage so unique? Why is it such a unique thing? Now, all relationships in life are defined in one of 2 ways. It's either by blood or by choice. So in a blood relationship, you don't have a choice. Your brother is your brother, not because you chose them. It's because they're there. They're your brother by blood. Your parents had them. Your parents had your siblings. And so you didn't have a choice in the matter. You found yourself related to that person, whether you like it or not. And in blood relationships, you tend to find a lot of commitment based on that blood. You may not like your siblings, you may not like your parents, but they're tied to you somehow. And there's that connection and commitment to them somehow. Of course, I know that there are exceptions to that rule, but largely you find out that you're committed or connected to that person, and that blood tie forms a bond that cannot be undone. And so even if you're not happy with your family, you just have to endure them. It takes a lot to be able to cut off completely from your family. In fact, it's hardly ever possible because it will come back to you somehow. And I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Now, for choice relationships, we have more friendships and people that we meet along life's journey. And those relationships tend to be very flexible and they're based on affinity. So you find somebody, you find out that we are similar. We either have similar values or we have similar interests or we have similar goals. So you find colleagues. You may not even be best of friends with your colleagues, but you work with them towards a similar goal. You could choose a business partner that you find out that, look, we have similar goals. If I work with this person, it's going to pay me. And then you work with that person. But they're flexible in the sense that if it's not working for you, you can cut off. So choice relationships are flexible. Now, the uniqueness of marriage is this. Marriage layers the commitment and connection of a blood relationship onto the flexibility and non-committal nature of a choice relationship. So you're saying this person is going to be like blood to me, but in reality, they're not really blood. And so you are offering your partner or your spouse the commitment that comes from a blood family, when in reality, it's a choice to be in that relationship or not. And so it's a heavy duty relationship. Now, out of that marriage, which is a choice relationship and all that, what you now create is another set of blood relationships. And so once children come into the union, they bear the blood from both parties and they cement the commitment that both of you made to one another based on choice, and then it becomes binding by blood. But that blood is not the wife's or the husband's, it's the blood of both of them. And so through that single union, we create a bond that is now based on blood from a choice relationship. And so it's pretty heavy duty stuff. It's not something that you just want to do with anybody. And that's why things like marriage for benefits and all that don't really tend to work out, because it's heavier than that. And we have to understand that the expectations of commitment are similar to the expectations of commitment based on a blood bond that is irreversible or irrevocable. And so even if your parents disowned you or you disowned your family or whatever, or you got disconnected by any chance, you can't change the fact that that is where your blood or your genetics comes from. And that forms some kind of commitment and bond amongst the people there. So to now take that and bring it to a relationship by choice, that's where the heavy duty stuff comes in. So it's not something to be taken lightly, just like I said before. And it informs many things. But what we find these days are that marriages are breaking up. I know that nobody ever gets into a marriage with the plan that, oh yeah, in a year or 5 years or 10 years, we're going to break it off. People get into the marriage with the mindset that we want to come together and have that commitment to one another and create a new blood bond through this union. But it doesn't work out. So people often wonder, what did I miss? What went wrong? Things just seem to change suddenly. What happened? And so I'll be sharing my thoughts about this in my next few videos. I'm putting an event together for women in November called Behind Closed Doors. That's one of my signature programs. This edition is called the Marriage Transformation Edition, and it's specially targeted at women who are facing challenges in their marriage and are seeking a transformation. They want a transformation in their marriage. They don't know how to go about it. If that's you, click the link in the description below and register for the program. There are only 20 spaces available, and I'm giving you an opportunity to be one of the chosen participants for that event. It's a free event, but I can bet you it's a very, very transformational event. So I look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget to watch my next video.